We've made tremendous progress on renewables. I mentioned the biodiesel and biomass work. I mentioned the solar work and a 450% increase in just 12 months in the number of solar installations in San Francisco. We're about to install the largest municipal solar installation in the United States of America out on our Sunset Reservoir. We're starting that just in a few months, 5 megawatts. I'm working very aggressively to create an urban wind strategy so you can have as-of-right zoning to put small demonstration of urban wind, not just rural wind projects. Mayor Bloomberg's also picked up on this, which I appreciate. He picked up on our task force that we initiated a year and a half or so ago. They're actually mapping the best areas of San Francisco to put small wind farms. The green building standards deal with the operation of buildings, and now with LEED certification, LEED Silver, for all new constructed buildings. Again, there's no higher bar in the country. Buildings are a huge component, as many of you know, as it relates to climate change and CO2 emissions. It's not just transportation, but the transportation sector is the quickest way we can get there. We've done it with our municipal bus fleet. Well over 2/3 of our municipal bus fleet is completely green, renewable energy. We've been very, though, aggressive in one final area, and that's ocean power. I'm a big fan of ocean power. Folks are concerned about ocean power because of the cost, because we haven't scaled the technology. But we have 2 projects that the press loves to belittle me about, but I just think they're wrong, and my goal is to prove them wrong. And that is a tidal project underneath the Golden Gate Bridge to harness the energy of Mother Nature coming in and out of the San Francisco Bay. And the second one that's arguably much more promising is a wave generation project about 4.5, almost 5 miles off the coast of Ocean Beach. Here in San Francisco, will be the first one on the west coast of the United States to harness the energy of Mother Nature as it relates to the tides. Ocean power is very promising if we make the investment and we start scaling the technology. It's not promising if we don't make the investment. It's the same arguments that were against wind, same arguments were against solar initially. Final point, here's the biggest idea. Everything else I said is candidly trivial. Here's the big idea, and this is exciting. We just literally are a month or 2 away, and I say literally, I should say, I believe we're a month or 2 away from rolling out the most aggressive financing program of any city in this country. It's called SF Squared. We are going to finance all of your energy efficiency, your water conservation, all of your renewables to the extent you want to do wind or you want to do solar, so there's not a dollar out of your pocket. This comes from the Berkeley model, where they did a very small, was very modest. They did just a few dozen solar installations where the city helped finance and backed through what we refer to, at least out here, as a Mello-Roos district. And we put the costs on not the individual, but on the property. So you can work it over the course of the amortization of your loans. The point being this, no out-of-pocket expenses. There is simply going to be no argument in San Francisco not to do something extraordinary of real magnitude. This is how we do it. You want to get serious. Again, we're playing in the margins still. Even with the good work the president did on the stimulus, it's still in the margins. It's a few bucks here, a few bucks there. If we're going to get serious, we got to make this make sense to real people. I save money and it doesn't cost me money. Why wouldn't I do it? And if that's the language that gets everyone to buy into this, Republicans that don't believe in climate change, Democrats that think we're all a bunch of nuts and don't like big government, but are pretty progressive on social issues, this is how we can pull everyone together. SF Squared. Check it out.
I think I'll open it at this point to any more reader questions that we have. Jill?
Actually, we have another question, but it's not from a reader, it's from me. I want to know what you think about the high-speed rail in California.
I went on. I had a Eurail pass when I was younger than even you. I was out there and going a couple 100 miles an hour in France, and here I am 30 years older in California. We're still debating a high-speed rail. What a joke. I mean, how can people argue to take their shoes off, wait in line, go through a scanning machine to find out their plane has been delayed, to realize that they're waiting 2 hours in an airport that took them 45 minutes to figure out a way to park to get there, to then travel on a 30-minute quick flight downtown someplace else that's not even close to where you need to go, as opposed to getting into a train that goes for 2 hours and 26 minutes from LA to San Francisco. Where none of those burdens and obstacles exist. This is crazy. You're going to get serious again about Transportation being 40+% depending on the cities and depending on the states of our greenhouse gases. It's not just electrifying the private vehicle fleet, but it's providing alternatives to airports and to building more freeways, and that's high-speed rail. We put $9.98 billion up, the taxpayers of San Francisco, about $10 billion of the state rather, into a high-speed rail system. The cost is about $45 billion. We're trying to get some federal stimulus dollars, about $8 billion we're after, and we have a gap. And the next governor, by the way, and I'm not here on that basis, is going to decide the fate and future of high-speed rail in the state. But I am not just a fan, I'm a fanatic. I was the first mayor in California to come out and endorse it, even when we didn't have a ballot initiative, saying enough is enough, let's stop talking about this. This is critical. By the way, final thing on high-speed rail. It creates a land use framework, smart growth, density, jobs, housing linkage. You got to connect these dots. You can't have this big urban, or rather suburban sprawl. It exacerbates these problems. If you can create on density and you can focus on these transit corridors, then you can allow population growth in a way that has less impact on our environment and brings a lot of people that are concerned about population together with folks that are concerned about the environment. Because one of the areas where I don't like the environmental movement coming is sort of an anti-immigration flavor that says, hey, we've got enough, too many people, not enough natural resources. I think it's a dangerous game. I just say this personally and respectfully. Immigration is our godsend, especially out in California, one of the most diverse states in the world's most diverse democracy, America, and what defines the best of this nation. And the reason that even during those Bush years, I was optimistic about the state is the capacity for people to live together and advance together across their differences. It's the magic. It's why people around the world look to America for inspiration, even if they disagree with our elected officials at times. So we cannot allow the environmental community, I believe, to get in that immigration debate and population debate in a way that can divide us. I want to do it in a way that can unite us in smart growth, land use planning, focus on density and bonuses, and incentivizing around transit corridors. The first time in human history, more people on the planet are living in urban centers than rural and suburban cores. This happened about 2007. We're experiencing mass urbanization. About 1 million to 1.5 million people every single week are moving into cities. Already cities are consuming 75% of the Earth's natural resource. If we're going to get serious about climate change, it happens in cities, large and small. There are 478 in California alone. How many cities in your state? The reality is mayors, city managers, city council members, boards of supervisors are going to lead this effort. And that's why you need to hold them accountable, not just to rhetoric, but to action. And they need to take risks, and you need to support them when we screw up. There's a lot of technologies we're promoting that may not work out, but at least we have the courage to try new things, and there'll be a few breakthroughs, but there'll also be some failures. And I just want to encourage people to be encouraging of their elected officials as they navigate the treacherous waters of change. Uncertainty brings a lot of folks out, and uncertainty creates, though, the conditions where great breakthroughs occur. It's a very uncertain time, and for a lot of special interests, they're going to fight for the status quo. But we've got to encourage people to be disruptors. We've got to encourage people to take risks and challenge that status quo if we're going to engender a fate in the future, not just for my daughter, but for you and your sons and daughters in the future, your parents and grandparents as well. And so it's time for real courage. It's time for real leadership. And it's time to stand up next to folks that are willing to take that risk and demonstrate that leadership. And I'm not honestly talking about me. I'm talking about other folks all across the country.
Fantastic. Great.
Thank you.
Well, I believe that's all the time that we have. Is that correct, Jill?
Yes, unfortunately, that's all the time that we have today. But thank you so much, Mayor Newsom, for being with us. That was really, truly inspiring, and I think that all of our listeners will agree that was an amazing green talk. And for everyone else who's joined us today, please stay tuned for the next Inhabitat Green Talk series on Inhabitat.com.